Welcome to this Rugby World special, a replay of the third test match between Australia and New Zealand. The Bledisloe Cup at stake. It was donated by Lord Bledisloe back in 1931. Australia has won the cup on only 4 occasions. The series locked at 1-1, Australia winning convincingly in the first test, but the All Blacks bouncing back in strong fashion in the second. Let's join the teams for this third test. Now let's look at the Australian team. Australia creates history today by playing an unchanged team for the first time in all 3 tests of a series against New Zealand. The pack is very mobile, with the stage lights again on the lofty second rower, Steve Cutler, who finished the second test in a daze. Tiny Chris Roach is the forward leader, while Andy Slack heads up a classy, experienced backline, boasting a combined total of 142 caps. We'll run through the New Zealand team for you after this traditional ceremony by a New Zealand touring time. The haka has been performed at home. Let's look at the New Zealand team. Only 6 survivors from the side that beat Australia 18-9 here. Last year, 1 back for Carey, the 3 front rowers, and Mexted and Hobbs in the back row. It's a relatively inexperienced New Zealand backline, boasting a total of 46 caps. In the pack, Knight, Dalton and Ashworth form a massive front line, tipping the scales at 305 kilograms, while 22-year-old second rower Albert Anderson is the heaviest man in the New Zealand side at 111 kilos. Coach Bryce Rope rates the New Zealand back row collectively as the fastest in the world. David Burnett. The last time he had an Australian team was at Bridgend in Wales. Australia went down that day back in 1981 on the British tour. Test match underway, 1984. The series decider. Long kick-off by Gould to Mexted. And not a good kick from Murray Mexted. Play just outside the 22.
And so what an important line out this is. Mexted's kick was not a good one. Australia have the throw in, and it's very important for Australia to win this one and to put a pressure on New Zealand immediately.
5-man line out for Australia. Cutler won it to Cox. Good ball for Ella. Hawker. Hawker hoists. Pressure here for Deans. Campese's there. Dropped it.
Well, that was extraordinary, as you saw. It looked as though Campese had it, but I think the referee has ruled Campese being offside from that kick.
Yes, the referee gave New Zealand the option of a penalty or a scrum, so don't get too excited. Campese almost scoring what appeared to be a sensational try, and an explosive start for the Australians, certainly, but play now back to a spot just outside the 22.
Yes, it would be very interesting. That's Deans, of course, who the pressure was really on. But certainly that kick was a beautiful one from Hawker. Campese must have been just offside. They looked as though they came up as a line.
Australia winning the first line-out. Line-outs to play a very big part today. Cutler went high. Anderson had it. Loose ball there for New Zealand as the Australians poured through. Knock-on rule by referee Mr. Burnett. Enrique Rodriguez opposed to Gary Knight on this side. Rodriguez being one of Australia's outstanding players in the series. Smith. He's pumped that one upfield, 10 metres from the halfway line. Wayne Smith from Canterbury, who snapped his hamstring playing Queensland country in 1980, but he's back in business and playing at the top of his form. Tommy Lawton. Cutler got a hand to it. Rodriguez sweeping. It's another ball here for Australia. Offside New Zealand. Oh, well offside in the inside backs. This one directly in front. but about 37 metres out from goal.
And it'd be very interesting to see who takes it, because obviously it looks like Mark Ella. He's moved up to the ball. Yes, there he is now. And it's very interesting. We've had 2 minutes and 48 seconds so far in this game, and it's quite explosive. But interesting to me is that in the line-out so far, Cutler for Australia has been getting up and getting up very well. He has been the danger man for against New Zealand, and of course in the second test they really New Zealand really looked after him, and he fell away a little bit, as did the whole Australian side. But here's a chance for Australia to put points on the board.
Mark Ella has to allow for a very strong breeze. 3.5 minutes gone. Looks good. First points on the board for the Australians. Fine kick by Mark Ella. Less than 4 minutes elapsed in the test match. Let's have a look at that incident. There's Michael Hawker hoisting the ball, and Trevor Allen, watch for David Campese.
Yes, it's very difficult because Campese was out of our picture and he came in there, and it was very difficult on that shot to really tell whether he was in line.
The referee in no doubt, though. Australia leading by 3 points to 0. Deans kicks off to Australia, allowing the ball to bounce. Touching goal back to the 22.
Well, Australia must be very happy with that penalty by Mark Ella. They will remember that one stage in the second test they were leading 12-0. I don't think they'll perform like they did in that second test.
Drop out from Ella's a bit too deep. Taken by Wetton. New Zealand setting up on the 10-metre mark. Australian ball. Cox. Williams and Poitevin mauling. Williams reefs the ball back. Ella looking for the touchline. Robbie Deans. Australia coming through very quickly. Line out just inside New Zealand's half.
Well, yes, Australia racing and chasing the ball very well at the moment. That ball came out of that maul rather unexpectedly, and I think it caught the Australians off guard. Australia now nominating just a 3-man line-out.
That's a differential penalty there. New Zealand not half a metre apart in the line. Andy Dalton just querying the referee's decision, but depending on the degree of offence in the line-out, the referee will award a free kick or a penalty. This one is a free kick. Roger Gould. Finding touch up near the 22, and so far, Trevor Allen, apart from this line-out, Australia has had all the line-out feeds.
Yes, they've done very well. Of course, they've forced the All Blacks into the fact that they've had to kick. They've been in trouble and they've had to kick, and so the feeds have come Australia's way.
Referee Burnett on the New Zealand side of the line-out. Good jump by Wetton. Cleared nicely by Donald. Gould calling for the ball. Charge down. Roach went in for the ball. Use of the boot there by New Zealand. As you can hear, there is a very big New Zealand support in the crowd today.
Well, I'm not surprised that the referee, Mr. Burnett, has been watching for the boots now. This is his first test here, and in the first and second test, there was no doubt that both sides committed some dreadful kicking. That's Bryce Rope, the All Blacks coach, but there was some bad kicking of heads in the play in the previous two tests, and I think that the referee is going to watch it very closely today. He's hoping he does.
Ross Reynolds won it. Australia sweeping through McIntyre. Hawker. Intercept for New Zealand. Wayne Smith. Hobbs. Ashworth picks it up. 18 metres out. Slack clears for Australia. Oh, but a mistake there by the Australians coming from a loose pass.
Yes, and that's what happened to Australia in the second test. And that really was bad football generally. No one seemed to want to get hold of the ball, it raced to it, And so Australia can ill afford, particularly against the side. Now here it comes. First of all, the pass went to Australia and it missed Ella by a mile. There was Hawker, juggled it, couldn't do anything, was hoping to get it away to Ella. He eventually did, but the All Blacks swept through in the centre position there and almost looked as though that they were going to carry it on to the try line. But some good defence there, and that was Hawker, I think, that came in there and did the fine smothering tackle. But it was a lot of danger for Australia.
So a very loose pass there from halfback Philip Cox, putting the Australians under heavy pressure. Jock Hobbs, the 24-year-old solicitor from Canterbury, is okay after receiving a knock on his right knee. Two-man line-out here from New Zealand. Cutler and Reynolds for Australia. Wetton and Mexted for New Zealand. Cutler won it. Lawton trying to set up play. And Lawton getting out from the bottom of that ruck very quickly.
It's very interesting to note that the referee is blowing the whistle, pulling it up pretty quickly, which won't appeal to either side, nor the spectators. There's been a lot of criticism here in Australia of the European referees. They're blowing up too much.
Held at the back by New Zealand. Smith, Stone, juggled the ball. Robbie Deans coming across field. Arthur Stone from Waikato, gaining a good slice of territory, only 5 metres out.
Yes, and as you saw, he juggled that ball. He had a little bit of trouble with it, but he managed to gather it and position it back pretty well. And of course, it's only about 6 metres from the Australian goal line.
Rodriguez opposed to Ashworth at the front of the line-out. Cox, bad bounce. Hobbs lost it forward. Oh, that was a nasty moment for the Australians. Scrum right on the goal line.
Yes, that looked very dangerous for Australia. Hobbs was pouring through. Chris Roach talking to his pack there.
Tense psychological moment here for the Australians. It'll be a 5-metre scrum. Forced over the goal line by Australia. New Zealand feed.
And New Zealand have been very dangerous on the blind side. I don't think there's enough room for them with this one.
Australian scrum holding. New Zealand have it at the back. Now it's Shelford. 5 metres out. Here it comes. Short side. Smith. Try. Clamp. Easy. Mike Clamp scores his first Test match try, and New Zealand's in the lead after 10.5 minutes of play.
Well, as Gordon said, it was easy, and it was the power of the All Black forwards that really took charge. That ball came out beautifully, and there was the overlap. Clamp really had no one near him, and even decided he might take it around a bit closer. So far away was the defence.
The Australian defence has been very sound on the short side throughout the series, but they were one down that time. That was a straight overlap situation as Donald cleverly worked the blind side. He saw the overlap, and New Zealand in the lead. As you can see on the scoreboard there on the right-hand bottom corner, 11 minutes of play gone. Robbie Deans, 15 points in the second test at Ballymore. It's a nice one. 3-point advantage for New Zealand. 11.5 minutes gone in the first half.
Well, here once again, as you see, the power of the pack really got the ball so beautifully that Clamp had all the room, and the Australian forwards just couldn't control them.
Roger Gould kicks off. So that's a great start for New Zealand. Now they're in a spot of bother here as Deans was looking to kick to the open side, but a sure kick finds touch midway 22 and halfway.
Well, Australia now have to pick their game up. They were going very well, but they made a couple of mistakes that allowed the All Blacks to pour into their quarter and paid the penalty.
Cutler won it easily. New Zealand coming across the line again. Murray Mexted again within kicking distance for Australia. Roger Gould coming up for this one.
Well, an interesting decision here, because Roger Gould, as most people have learned this week, hasn't kicked goals for many, many months. We expected Gould to kick in the first test, but he was not happy with his thigh muscle. So unfortunately, he has that worry, but he does like long-distance kicks.
Well, Alan Jones decided that he wanted to take the pressure off David Campese, and he managed to talk Roger Gould into this task of sharing the kicking duties with Mark Ella. Gould, a fine goal kicker. He's pushed it out to the right. There was no fluency about the way he struck that ball. Simon Poitevin being called over. He gets a warning on the run. Wayne Smith, long drop out. Gould and Moon. Moon's going to look for safety of the touchline. Up near halfway. Brendan Moon, 13 tries in test matches and the most capped player in this Australian team. Playing his 29th test match today. Albert Anderson, one of the newcomers in the All Black side. Reynolds went high. Rodriguez doing well at the front. Australia have it again. Ella, Hawker. Over Dean's head. Campese sprinting as fast as his legs will take him, but the kick just a little too deep.
Well, that's Hawker who kicked that ball. Probably a lot of people are suggesting that maybe Australia should not be kicking it as much as they have already in this part of the game. But I'd have to be honest and say that the All Black centres are coming up very quickly, quite legally, quite on side, but they are marking the Australian centres very closely.
St Edmunds College won the Waratah Shield final against Cranbrook. That's great news for you people in the ACT. They defeated Cranbrook 14-4. Ella, Hawker, cut out pass here for Slack. Here's Brendan Moon. Tackle without the ball. Dear, oh dear. Well, that was the most blatant foul or obstruction I've seen since I've been calling football. Brendan Moon coming up outside Andrew Slack, and what's this for a tackle? Mike Clamp got away with it, but Australia now has another shot at goal.
Well, that looked like a very enterprising move by Australia, and it looked as though it was going to develop, but I agree with Gordon. That's the earliest tackle I've seen for a long time on a player without the ball. And I would think that Moon would be very upset about that, because he looked as though he was going to be thrown clear, and he had a race to the corner. It was a fair distance, and the cover of New Zealand was coming. But Moon is a brilliant footballer, and here it comes now, the play coming out. The long pass that found Slack, and Slack was caught going through, lost his support, and it was just after that the tackle was made.
16 minutes gone. Gould's kicked it badly again. He seemed to stub his toe on the ground that time. So the gamble of Gould with the goal kicking certainly not paying off so far.
Yes, and unfortunately for Australia and the Australian coach, they haven't been very confident attempts whatsoever.
Anderson taking the ball brilliantly to Shelford. Hobbs gets around Ella. Anderson again. Tremendous thundering charge from New Zealand. Over the top Australia. A chance for New Zealand to go further ahead.
Well, there was the occasion where I would have liked to seen the referee let that go a little bit further, and I think the All Blacks would have too. They were all getting set up to run that ball. Now, the referee gave the signal. The ball was out, but I feel that the ball was out before the referee really blew it up. And when I looked at the host of black jerseys away to the right, now let's see what actually happens here. That was Ella making a very high tackle, a bad one really. The All Blacks surging onto the ball. And this is where Australia apparently went over the ball. Now let's see, now the referee, he's blown before the ball was out, so they could go along with him. I would have thought he might have let it go a bit longer.
Andy Dalton certainly not packing in on the right side of the ruck there.
Now the man that would really worry Australia, Dean.
This to give New Zealand a 9-3 lead after 18 minutes. It's another great kick. So the Australians 6 points down after missing two fairly straightforward kicks at goal. Robbie Deans, 2 out of 2. Roger Gould, none out of 2.
Well, once again, it looks as though we could be looking at a game that goal kicking is going to decide it, and Australia not looking good in that department whatsoever.
Well, Gould kicked off there, and again it was a bad kick. Looks like a hand in the ruck there by New Zealand. It was against Jock Hobbs, and I think Gould may be relieved. He's certainly not kicking the ball with any confidence. And it's Magical Mark, the hero for Australia in that second test. Alan Jones and Dr. Charles Wilson.
Well, the crowd roared when they saw that Mark Ella was coming up to take this kick. That obviously should give him a degree of confidence. The referee has been strict on both sides. But Australia, to get into this game, really have to start potting a few of these penalties. The two that Roger Gould missed, of course, were reasonably easy for a man of his ability, but he wasn't timing it well. And I must admit I was not surprised that the decision was made very quickly to take him off.
This is a very vital kick for Australia. Nice looking kick. He's done it again. 3 points in the test match. And what an absorbing 20 minutes we've seen so far.
Well, that kick has certainly put Australia back into the game. Another quick try or score by New Zealand would have made it very difficult for Australia. But now they've bridged the gap. 3 points the difference, and it gives them a chance to fight back. But this New Zealand side has played very well throughout the tour, particularly after the first test. They are superb in their combination, and I think we will also find as the day goes on that this condition is going to be superb too.
Robbie Deans kicking off for New Zealand. He's the grandnephew of the immortal Bob Deans, who scored that famous no-try at Cardiff in 1905. Campese allowing the ball to go over touch in goal, back to the 22. But this is a danger area, Trevor, for Australia.
Yes, it is, Gordon, because you might recall the previous dropout was a bit of a mess. Mark Ella kicked it a bit too far. He's either got to do a real long one or just put it where his forwards can get to it, and I think he has done it this time.
Gary Wetton won it. Williams tried to paddle it back with his hands. There's a strong thrust from the All Blacks. Attempted drop goal is a bad one. And there's a bad mistake there by Roger Gould. Instead of allowing the ball to go over the dead ball line, he's run it over the dead ball line. Unforced error, 5-metre scrum for New Zealand.
That was extraordinary decision by Gould. It was going out, there was no one near him. Now the advantage bounces back to the All Blacks.
Mexted, strong charge. Could be a penalty here for New Zealand. Obstruction against the Australians. The man without the ball. Now, in that situation, you're bordering on a penalty try situation. It certainly wasn't on that time, but if the referee feels that the player is obstructed and the try would have probably been scored but for the obstruction, he can award a penalty try, but he felt it wasn't the case that time. But nevertheless, Robbie Deans has a chance to put New Zealand further ahead.
Well, the decision obviously was correct. You could see the 5-8 for New Zealand hampered there. There he is now, being hampered away to the left by Hawker. Hawker's held onto him. The referee cited what had happened, but he allowed play to go on just to see if New Zealand could get up and score the try, which was on there at the time.
And you saw the driving tackle there from Simon Poitevin. So Deans with a perfect record so far. It'd be hard to see him missing this one. Point blank range. Nearly 23 minutes gone. The crowd tells you the story. It's New Zealand in the lead by 12 points to 6. Robbie Deans kicks his second penalty goal. Also one conversion, 3 out of 3 for him. Mike Clamp scoring the try for New Zealand after 10 minutes.
Well, Deans will be very happy with that. Australia must be very unhappy with what they've been doing. They've made some dreadful blunders.
Campese kicking off now to Wayne Smith. Deans. Oh, he hesitated there. That's dangerous play, but now New Zealand counter-attack. Stone. Well, they took unnecessary risks there, New Zealand. Hobbs setting up the play. Play on, says the referee. Smith. Stone bursting through. Good play by him. Here comes Clamp. New Zealand playing a la Australian fashion there from inside their 22 and almost getting themselves into horrible trouble.
Yes, they're very confident with their backs, though. I must admit, they've said all along that they have a chance. The Australian forwards really have, in many ways, let the side down in a couple of areas. There was a maul or a ruck just before that replay, and I'd have to say that the ball was in Australia's ruck, and for some unknown reason, no one seemed to want to do anything about it, and so New Zealand, who are always going forward, got it. So Australia making some bad mistakes. They've loosened up a little bit in the forwards.
And Roger Gould certainly not in position that time for that kick through, but fortunately the bounce beat everyone over the touchline. Steve Cutler and Steve Piqueri, who was injured in the match against New South Wales B at Graham Park, Gosford. He damaged rib cartilages and he's been jarred there in a heavy tackle. I think a rib cartilage, Trevor, is something that doesn't heal too quickly.
No, they're very painful too. I sometimes think that you're better off with a busted rib than the rib cartilage. It's very painful, and you seem to lose a lot of your strength around the shoulders. So Australia to put this ball into the line-out, I would think they're calling, yes, it's about a 3-man line-out.
New Zealand leading by 12 points to 6. 25 minutes gone. Mark Ella to Hawker. Kick charge down. Reynolds is onside. Hawker almost stealing the ball. Knock on both ways.
Well, there you saw once again how quickly the All Black back line is getting up. I really think that the pass coming from Cox is just a little bit slow.
Donald. Deans chipping through. Gould. Straight through. 35 metres out from the Australian goal line. New Zealand in the lead by 12 points to 6, and we've had 25.5 minutes of play in this first half. Australian backs looking just a little tentative. Strong blocking by New Zealand. Offside there, Mr. Gary Wetton. Gary Wetton made his debut against the Springboks in 1981, and he's played in only one losing New Zealand Test side. That was in the first Test here at the SCG. Another big kick downfield by Hawker. Watch the bounce. Deans. Robbie Deans, who scored a world record 43 points against South Australia. 3 tries, 14 conversions and 1 penalty goal. Reynolds opposed to Hobbs, Wetton and Cutler, Williams and Anderson. Reynolds, Ella, Hawker. Still tentative, these Australian backs. They're not running onto the ball. Rope setting up. Now they go. Hawker. Campese looming up outside. And the referee has awarded a penalty here to Australia. New Zealand offside. He played the advantage. And Mark Ella coming up to have another shot at goal.
Well, the movement was developing into a very good one on the blind side, but the little kick through by Hawker for Campese was well judged. But, of course, Campese was pretty well covered by the cover defence coming across. And the referee then awarded the penalty.
The new stand, chock-a-block, in contrast to the first Test when it hadn't been finished, but it was open midweek at a cost of over $5 million. And the SCG, a real showpiece now. One of the outstanding international sporting arenas. But all eyes on this man, Mark Ella, attempting his 3rd penalty goal. It's close. He's done it again. 3 out of 3 for Mark Ella. Alan Jones breathing a little more easily. And Australia still within 3 points.
Well, certainly Mark Ella playing with or kicking, should I say, with a great degree of confidence.
He certainly kept Australia in the game with that left boot of his, striking the ball delightfully. 12 points to 9. 28 minutes gone in the first half. Deans kicks off. Here's Ella again. Right back in the action. Oh, don't juggle it there. Fine kick again by Ella. Look at that one. 45 metres, and we're just short of halfway. The quiet but firm leader in this New Zealand side, Andy Dalton. Sun right in his eyes. Two-handed take by Anderson. Donald hoists for Gould. Wasn't that a finely judged kick? Going just inside the touchline. Gould calling for the mark, but he was standing on the touchline.
Yes, Gould had to take that. He couldn't even take the risk of thinking it was going to go out.
Anderson again, lovely take. Smith, across field. Green, sandwiched, but stands in the tackle. Nexted. It's only 18 metres out. Strong drive there from the Australian forwards. Overlap here for New Zealand. Green, Stone. He's there. Oh, great try there by Arthur Stone. He used all his bulk, and the Australians couldn't put him into touch.
Well, Stone, a very powerful runner. He showed that in Queensland, a very strong player. And there you see that suddenly Australia didn't have the defence they wanted to cover this ball, which was racing across field. Stone looked as though he was going to be caught, but managed with his power to go just in the corner.
So New Zealand white hot at the moment, leading Australia by 16 points to 9. A very difficult conversion attempt for Deans. New Zealand scoring 2 tries to 0, and their forwards winning crucial ruck ball.
Yes, when that ruck commenced, it looked very much as though Australia was going to get it, but the power of the All Black pack is magnificent.
This to give New Zealand a 9-point lead. 31 minutes gone in the first half. It's going to be pretty close. Just missing, though, the right-hand upright. New Zealand scoring 2 tries to 0. And let's see how the ball just came out like an orange pip for Donald. Wayne Smith did well. So too did Craig Green. And Arthur Stone, this man who resembles the former Australian captain Jeff Shaw in his build, really bullocked his way over. Murray Mexted just outside his goal line. He's chancing his arm. New Zealand playing with a lot of confidence now. Mexted down on one knee, though. New Zealand making silly mistakes inside their 25 or around that area. And this is allowing Australia to stay in the game. David Campese coming up for the kick, Trevor Allen.
Yes, that's very interesting, Gordon. I'm a bit surprised. I would think that Bryce Rope, the New Zealand coach, whilst he is terribly confident about his back line and what they can do, but I think he would be very upset at the moment the way the New Zealand All Black side are trying to run the ball out of the quarter. It really is not test match football when you're leading. They've got a good lead, 16 points to 9. I think he'd be a bit angry with them performing in the quarter as they have.
Only 5 metres in from touch. He's hooked it. And I thought he rushed it a little too. Still New Zealand with a 7-point lead. Australia missing with 3 penalty attempts in this first half. Had they have put those over, they indeed would have been in the lead.
You can't afford to miss penalties in test matches. All Black was offside there from that quarter line kickoff.
This is shaping as a high-scoring test match. Already 25 points. Reynolds at the back to Poitevin. Australia wants the ball. Here's Ella. There's an overlap here. Gould. Campese. Campese! Oh, great try for Australia. The SCG has erupted. David Campese, who could sidestep his way through quicksand, has scored Australia's first try.
And it was a brilliant sidestep. If you watch when it goes, Australia did well to get that ball. Cox did well, got it out. But watch for the sidestep of Campese when Dean comes across. That's Gould getting it now. Campese has it. Watch for the fullback coming across. Campese slips inside him with a great deal of ease.
What a test match we're witnessing here at the SCG. This match going live all over Australia. It's also going live to South Africa. And of course our friends in New Zealand who are taking New Zealand commentary. 16 points to 13. This is Ella's most difficult kick. Struck it well. Unbelievable stuff. Mark Ella, Australia's hero. I tell you what, he can't believe it. I've never seen him kick like this. He is playing like a man inspired. And there's 1 point in it.
Kick by number 10, Mark Ella.
Here's the great Australian try. This ability to bounce back under pressure. And this is where we see the genius of the Australian backs. Ella timed his pass beautifully to Gould. And what a fine pass it was from Roger Gould to Campese. And there's no stopping Campese in a one-on-one situation like we saw there. Australia hasn't found touch. Murray Mexted, like a wild bull, into 3 Australian players. 31 points scored in the test match. We're still 5 minutes before half-time. 16 points to 15. Tommy Lawton now. Good win for Australia. Cox took his eye off it. Mistake there by the Australian halfback. Penalty there to New Zealand. Holding the man down, says referee Burnett. So both sides committing a spate of errors in their halves and giving the goal kickers the chance to convert the points.
Well, Gordon's right there. It's rather strange the way. Here's the replay. We didn't see much there. The referee, obviously, someone was pulling on an all-black jersey, I think, there.
May have been also, Trevor, for a collapsed scrum. The referee was saying someone was pulled down or sideways. It was either obstruction or pulling down in the scrum. It doesn't matter because it's an ensuing penalty goal attempt for Deans. Deans has been in super form with his goal kicking. 3 out of 4 so far. 14 metres in from the far touch. Another good one. It's absolutely pouring points out here. 34 scored so far in the first half. And we could be on the verge of all sorts of records in this test match.
Well, certainly Deans is enjoying it. He's really kicking magnificently. It's certainly turned into an extraordinary game.
Shelford. They're going to try and run it again here. Stone puts a bit of sanity back into proceedings with a fine kick. Just over the halfway line. Arthur Stone, a member of the Maori midfield trio of Mike Clamp, Stone and Pekeri, who played so well against Wales at Carter Farms Park for the Maoris.
Right.
Hobbs, caught by Rodriguez. Poiterman setting up play to Rodriguez again. How did he get there so quickly? Great play by the prop forward. Gould somehow got the kick in. Gould not taking the ball cleanly, but saying, I want that ball a little faster because there was another overlap looming for Australia.
Well, Australia did well to get out of that because Hobbs looked as though he had it. But here's the replay coming up. Gould, you watch how he just almost gets caught just as that ball is kicked.
So Australia now back in the attacking zone.
Ross Reynolds was injured in that last line out. He collapsed when it went over his head. Hobbs took the ball at the back. And that's where I suggested Hobbs looked as though it had very clearly and that the All Black pack would take charge. But it's interesting to just look back over the game. It's extraordinary, some of the mistakes that the sides have made. We saw the Roger Gould make the mistake of stepping over the dead ball line, which allowed New Zealand to have a scrum in front of the goal post, and it resulted eventually in a try. New Zealand did something that I have not seen them do for a long time, try to throw the ball around in their own quarter. And then, of course, Campese scored his try.
Just over a minute before half-time, New Zealand leading 19-15. New Zealand controlling the line-out ball here. Smith. He's put it straight up. Gould coming in for it. Here he comes. Towed ahead by Anderson.
Well, it was a magnificent effort by Gould in getting it. Of course, the ball was spilt. And Australia looking at a lot of trouble when that ball bounces around in the loose.
2-1 margin for Australia in the line-outs. Reynolds and Cutler doing particularly well. Another one for Cutler. Rodriguez there again for Australia. They're dominating these line-outs. And Gould up towards halfway. There's about 15 seconds remaining before half-time. New Zealand look to be going in with a 4-point lead at the break.
1-4-3. 1-4-3.
The hooter to go any second.
Let's go. 6. Let's go. No! Take it.
There it goes. Solid tackle on Dalton. The ball has to go dead. This is dangerous. Gould underneath. Here comes Green.
I think maybe the referee has suggested that...
Green was in front of the kicker.
Yes, I think so.
So the hoot has gone 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, that's... Australia must be going to try and run this. Yes,
Well, perhaps the referee didn't hear the hooter.
yes.
He is the sole judge of law and fact. He's also the timekeeper. 19 points to 15. That's the half-time situation. And what a superb first half it's been. Second half commenced by Robbie Deans. New Zealand with a 4-point lead. 34 points scored in that first half. Ruck ball here for Australia. Ella. Long kick over Deans' head. It's a good one. Clever play by Deans. He certainly retained his composure that time.
Yes, that was clever football by Deans. He could see he was not going to be in any trouble when he put that little kick through. It was wide open spaces, not a goal jersey there. And he obviously realised with a chance that he could slip up and would be favoured by the bounce. It wasn't bounced out, but good thinking.
So the test match is evenly poised. Obstruction. Use of the elbow and talking back to the referee.
Well, last week, Gordon, in the club game that the referee Dave Burnett refereed, anyone that spoke to him, he marched them back 10 yards very quickly. I suggested that the national coaches would probably buy zippers for their team because he doesn't hesitate one little bit.
There's Alan Hewson on the reserves bench. Does this mean that we could see a replacement in the New Zealand side? His left hand is heavily bandaged. We know that he's only 6 points short of Don Clark's record of 207. Mark Ella, who has kicked so superbly for Australia. Can he keep it up in this second half? 2 minutes gone. Second half. Mark Ella. Oh, it must have just shaved. So close. He didn't strike it as he would have liked. But I tell you what, it kept those goalposts honest.
Well, watching the touch judges, they watched it very keenly.
So I wonder whether Craig Green could be in some distress. Reynolds took the ball well. New Zealand have it. Australia were up offside in the backs there, but the referee wasn't looking the right way. And Gould with a towering kick hasn't found touch. Deans is following. This has put pressure on Australia. Brendan Moon has been paid the mark. Next head through oh so quickly.
Yes, well, Moon certainly wanted to kick that ball out. He took the mark and then put it out, but was given the fair catch. Once again, Roger Gould surprised by missing the line with that long kick, and he's done it again.
Oh, that's a bad mistake by Australia. Campese takes on Green. But it works out well for the Australians because they will have the line-out throw. And Australia doing exceptionally well in these line-outs. 11-6 it was at half-time. Cutler went high, coming New Zealand's way. Cleaned up by Andy Dalton. They're going to try and roll this one. Donald puts it high for Gould. Stone came through. Gould couldn't take it. Brendan Moon.
Well, there's one decision, obviously, that the All Blacks made at half-time. And the decision was that they're going to put a lot of pressure on Roger Gould.
Your attention, please.
They're testing him out, and he hasn't been playing that well, and I think they've decided to have a crack at him to unsettle him.
Anderson at the front. I think the referee saying that wasn't in straight. Australia committed the error of not throwing the ball in straight in the second test at Ballymore, but the line-out throwing today from them has been exceptional. Cox clears to Gould. Hasn't found touch again. What are New Zealand going to do? Mark Ella now. Deans is coming through, swirling round, knocked back. Ella's going to find touch, just short of halfway. Some nail-biting moments here for the Australian camp. Gould, perhaps that last one, he deliberately tried to keep the ball in play in the hope that New Zealand would kick it out, but it didn't work out that way.
What's the middle? Just in front. 5-4-7.
Just inside Australia's half. New Zealand leading by 19 to 15. Shelford brilliantly tackled there by Reynolds. Smith on the blind side. Knock on by the halfback. Andrew Donald from Wanganui just arguing with the referee. Can't make those mistakes. Good scrum for Australia. Ella is a good line here too. Hurried kick by Hawker off a New Zealander. Mexted. Poitevin knocked it ahead. Knock on Australia. (19 points to 15). New Zealand in the lead. The Bledisloe Cup up for grabs. New Zealand the current holders. Smith. Chip ahead. Moon tripped over. Stone. Couldn't hold on. There was a New Zealand knock on. Referee playing advantage. Mark Ella. Campese to Ella. Lovely play. Still in play. Ella. Australia set up the ruck ball. New Zealand come away. How did they do that? Craig Green wrapped up by Cox. Good defence from the halfback. New Zealand have the ball in control though. Smith. Pekeri. Stone. Deans. Chris Roach back there for Australia. Oh, good play there from New Zealand.
Yes, there really was some good play there by New Zealand and Australia, but some of the play by New Zealand was excellent.
They really are crammed in the Brawongle stand. Australian line-out throw. The referee calling for the half-metre across the tunnel. Gary Knight, number 3 there, a late addition to the line-out. Inside Australia's 22. Donald. Not in straight. Australia elects for a scrum. Mistake again there from... Well, there's a big kick by Gould. That's a beauty. That's more like it, Roger.
Yes, that's more like a Roger Gould punt. He really can thump a ball. He hasn't done it very well today. But as Gordon said, that's more like Roger. Tremendous effort. He's taken it right down at 6 or 7 metres from the All Black quarter.
That was a massive kick by Gould, gaining 60 metres just outside the All Black 22. Dalton having trouble with this sun in his eyes. Good win by Wetton. New Zealand coming back in the lineouts. Not finding touch. Gould, attempted field goal. It's a huge one. It's close.
Just to the left, I think.
Just to the left-hand side. By geez, it had the distance all right.
Well, it certainly had the legs, there's no doubt about it. And the referee appeared to be in the right line watching that ball. He certainly couldn't get up to it, but let's see if we can pick. There's the kick. It's a long distance one, but it was just wide. There it is there.
So play has resumed with the dropout. We're on halfway.
Well, the clock is about to register 10 minutes in this second half. And 19 to 15 in favour of, there it is, just 10 minutes coming up now. So it's still excitement here and a very close match.
Donald. Clamp coming in from the wing. He was held in the tackle there. On his knees, the referee says play on. Australia have it. Cox to Ella. Lost ahead by New Zealand.
Well, it looked as though Ella may have been presented with a gap then, but it was just not big enough for him to charge through.
New Zealand managed to get the hand to that ball too, Trevor, which saved the day for them.
Yes, it's been a game where they've both depended on each other to make mistakes, or perhaps in many cases just fluke an odd thing.
Nexted standing out on the blind side. There is a big blind side here, the scrum near the centre of the field. Mark Ella to Hawker, to Ella. Gould! Oh, he dropped the ball. Well, Australia in a strong position there. They've given the penalty away. And Roger Gould really is having a horror stretch in this game.
Well, that was most unfortunate because it was a good movement coming up. There's the ball going out to Ella. Hawker back to Ella. And there's the pass, and it was a good one. It was right in the breadbasket. And he lost it.
And that's how test matches are lost also. New Zealand leading by 19 to 15. 11 and a half minutes gone in this second half.
And of course, this lad has really had a fantastic day with the boot. And he's been a very sound fullback today and every game that he's played here.
Robbie Deans, this for a 6-point lead. He's done it again. All from the Australian mistake. Again, it was an unforced error. A simple case of taking your eye off the ball.
New Zealand 22.
And New Zealand now leading by 22 to 15.
Yes, that's going to make it very tough for Australia now.
Wayne Smith. Picked up by Roach. Where's the halfback? He wasn't there. Cleared by Rodriguez. Ella. Poitevin. Offside New Zealand. Well offside. This one right in front. And what a shame Philip Cox wasn't there.
Well, I must say that Rodriguez did a very good job when he snapped that ball up for a front rower. He really pounced on it and whizzed it out like a halfback.
What a fantastic player this fellow is, Rodriguez. Look at him, dive pass. He has played halfback, he's played centre, he's played winger, he's played everywhere, but he's also probably the finest prop forward in the world. And what a mobile player he is. But what a shame there Australia wasn't able to capitalise on that fast ruck ball, because they did have the overlap, a full line that time. And we noticed too, Trevor, that Mark Ella was limping rather noticeably. And he missed one from this situation in the club game against Manly last week. Hold your breath. No worries. .22 points to 18.
Well, Australia badly needed those points because just prior to that, of course, there was 7 points the difference, which makes it very difficult to chase.
So Mark Ella has kicked 1 goal and 4 penalties. That's 14 points for the game. Reynolds takes it for Australia. The All Black forward's a little slow that time. Cox. Offside New Zealand. Andy Dalton coming through the ruck that time. A little bit of frustration creeping into New Zealand's forward play. This looks like big Gary Wetton to me. Wetton, who suffered a serious knee injury in South Africa last year, which forced him to have a 6-month spell from the game. His knee ligaments were detached. Fortunately, he was able to have the operation within 24 hours, which meant that it was a complete success. But he looks to have damaged that injured right leg.
Fabulous crowd here today. They're really enjoying it. And that area where the sun is now is where most of the New Zealand supporters are. Tremendous number there.
Wetton's up okay. And no way there that Dalton was bound onto the ruck. You can't just hold on with one hand like that. New Zealand going or looking for a quick throw, but Dalton says no. Give me the ball. The crowd is certainly alive and well here. 22 points to 18. New Zealand in the lead after leading 19-15 at halftime. Goal kicking has dominated, as Bryce Rope, the New Zealand coach, suggested it would. Albert Anderson at the front. Great two-handed take. New Zealand have it. Donald, back for Gould. Hefty left foot boot. Dean's inside his 22. Plenty of time. Line out, Australian throw, just short of halfway.
Yes, and it's this area now that Australia in the lineouts have really got to take better control if they can. They really want some good possession. They're looking for it this time. They've gone for the 4-man lineout.
Mexted winning well with one hand. Australia drive in. Well rucked by New Zealand. Shelford. Oh, bowled over there by Lawton. Good shoulder charge. Scrappy play here from New Zealand. They come away with the ball. Stone to Smith. Jock Hobbs. Craig Green. Chris Roach. Left foot kick has gone straight in field. Stone. He's taken advantage down to Moon. Moon with not much room. Shocking kick.
Terrible.
Oh, Mexted let it bounce. Comedy of errors here. And I think Australia are in front of the kicker. And they're going to come right back for the scrum. The ruling there is that if you are in front of the kicker, you must stay outside the 10-metre perimeter. However, if the man runs 5 metres with the ball, you're allowed to go for him. The referee said, though, Australia was inside the 10-metre perimeter. Feet up in the scrum, Andy Dalton. Free kick Australia, and that certainly was a crucial one for the Australians.
Well, it certainly was. Gordon mentioned a short while ago, it's a comedy of errors in some areas. And there certainly has. It's been a strange test match. I've never seen two sides, such as we've seen here today, that have made such fundamental errors, which you normally don't see in the test match. And I can only suggest that both sides have decided to really throw it about, do plenty of movement, and they are now making a number of errors.
Well, both sides have decided they're going to try and give the crowd the value. Lifting in the line out, clear indication there against Jock Hobbs. And Campese's coming up to have a kick.
Well, that's an interesting decision. Campese has not been terribly successful this season with his goal kicking. But he seemed to elect that he wanted to take that one. He was hurrying in. Whether he's in a confident mood, it's very difficult to tell. But of course, the fact is that we mentioned earlier that Mark Ella may have damaged himself a little bit a while ago. He may not have wanted the kick. He was injured just before he kicked that one, simple one right in front. And so here's Campese, hoping to make a name for himself.
He doesn't waste much time. 1 out of 2 in Brisbane. It's got the distance. You bet it has.
Well, he was
Would you believe there's 1 point in it, Trevor Allen?
What an extraordinary game. 1 point the difference. The clock ticking over to 19 minutes and 6 seconds, and Campese absolutely delighted. And so he should be. That really will have hurt and stung the All Blacks, and they'll come bouncing back. So Australia really have got to get more possession if they want to win this game. But it really is developing into a most exciting game. Capacity crowd roaring its head off and really enjoying it. 1 point the difference.
22-21. This must be close to one of the highest scoring test matches in New Zealand history. Australia and the United States scored 52 points at the SCG last year. Steve Williams went high. New Zealand, though, have a sniff of the leather. Comes for Australia. What's happening here?
Touch judge is signalling.
Touch judge, Mr. Brian Kinsey. The Australians are retiring to see whether there was an infringement there on their part. Looks like a New Zealander, though.
The referee going in, speaking to the skipper, Andy Dalton.
John Ashworth, the Canterbury farmer.
Well, obviously something happened here. Let's see if we can see anything.
Rucking the man,
yes.
Not in possession. Dangerous play. You cannot ruck the man in that situation, particularly when he's nowhere near the ball. Australia keep the ball in play. Deans inside his 22. So Australia, I think, deliberately keeping the ball in play to get the line-out throw, and we're just inside Australia's half.
There's a little doubt about that. I think you're quite right, Gordon. I think that they deliberately tried to keep that in and keep the pressure. I think they would have hoped that perhaps New Zealand would have kicked it out a bit further down. It's not a bad one.
Cutler. Loose knock. Again, fine sweeping there from Rodriguez. Boy, he's had a mighty game for Australia in the loose head position. .21.5 minutes gone in the second half. The score is 22-21 in favour of New Zealand. Overlap here for Deans. Here comes Gould. Clamps there. Campese to Gould. And Gould putting the ball into touch. Probably that's one he would have dearly wanted to keep in play, because New Zealand had no one at home back up the field, but the ball slid off the side of his boot.
Yes, it was all hurried play. Campese did well to be over there. Campese, of course, came from this far wing. .22-21. Australia led early by 3 points to 0, but that's the last time they saw the lead. This is the closest they've been so far since that first New Zealand try. 22-21. 23 minutes of play gone in this second half. New Zealand led it 19-15 at halftime. Goal kicking has dominated the game. Hawker. Straight across to Green. That was a shocker. Green now floating it towards the touchline. Kept in play by Gould. Now the law there is that you can keep the ball in play, short line out. You can be off the field of play, but you can't have your feet on the ground. So the touch judge was right. You can be over the touchline in mid-air and paddle the ball back, but you can't knock it back from outside of the field of play. Big scrum here from New Zealand. Australia have it. And Gould manages to get that one to touch just outside the 22, but oh, that was a big shove from the New Zealand 8. Yes, the All Black pack looking pretty ferocious at the moment. They were driving in then. It's extraordinary the mistakes that both sides have made. made in this game. Michael Hawker's kick upfield, midfield, was a bad one. It was most unlike Hawker.
Reynolds couldn't take it. Now he battles back, and I think he was offside, Ross Reynolds. On the wrong side of the offside line, making no attempt to retire. And now Deans with a chance to give New Zealand that cushion.
Yes, it will be a reasonable cushion, but it's not one that that will keep Australia out completely. Obviously, all sides look to get that 7 points lead if they can. This will take them to 25 to 21, which will be a 4-point cushion, but it still allows Australia to be in the game. But penalties, as you see, favoured Australia pretty well. But they've given away a few, and when this man is on the job, you can't afford to give them away when they're within kicking range, and that really means anywhere in your own half.
Australia has missed 3 shots at goal, New Zealand only 1, and really that is the difference between the two teams. Deans, one of his easier kicks. 25 minutes gone. It's another good one. 4-point lead for New Zealand. Robbie Deans is chasing that world record of Alan Hewson. He's still got a long way to go, but he's on the warpath. 5 penalty goals and 1 conversion, 17 points for this record-breaking Canterbury fullback. And did you like the little wink there from Bryce Rowe? Wayne Smith still in play. Gould. We haven't seen any counter-attacking from the Australians. That was a very optimistic field goal attempt from Gould. That one was 68 metres out. Maybe even out of Roger Gould's range.
Yes, that was a desperation effort by Roger. He was a long way out. There was no way that he's not assisted by the wind. But I guess it was about the same as thumping the ball down with a good punt.
Roach cleaning up well. He's a tiger. Slips it back for Australia. Intercepts. Arthur Stone. Moon chasing. Can he make it? Gould. Great tackle. Near the line. In touch, is it? The referee's whistle is gone. Roger Gould. Try-saving tackle. The ball lost forward. And yet another mistake out there in the Australian backs. There was, again, no halfback there for Australia.
Yes, and it was the Rodriguez that snapped it up again. And unfortunately for them, on this occasion, the ball went to the New Zealander bursting through. And, of course, that is after it. And there is Stone pounding down. Now, watch for Roger Gould, number 15. He really looked as though he was not going to get there. But this great desperation tackle, it was a magnificent tackle. And certainly put paid to the attempt by the All Blacks to score. And, of course, they finished out pushing the attacking players out.
Both sides of, particularly New Zealand, have thrown caution to the wind. Gould. Robbie Deans. New Zealand offside. The referee playing advantage. He felt that as the ball didn't find touch, there was no advantage. Andy Dalton has his prerogative, querying the referee. But Gould now putting the ball into touch. 8 metres from halfway. Mexted got a hand to it. Reynolds won it for Australia. Ella. Moon to Campese. Oh, that was a wild pass. Here's Hawker. Ella. Now Cox still in play. Hobbs. Knock on.
Well, the Australian back line at the moment are really not moving well at all. they're passing, they're not positioned properly. It's a long time since I've seen this combination play in that fashion.
Gould. That's a great kick by Gould. Well over halfway. And what a morale booster for the Australians. Yes, the Australian backs haven't looked like it today. They haven't been prepared to run the ball in the first two tests. And it seemed like a foreign art to them today. Knock on both ways. Australia will have the scrum here, it appears. 10 minutes to go in the test match. New Zealand leading Australia by 25-21. Australia 9 points short of its highest ever score against New Zealand. Cox to Reynolds. Chip ahead. And that was poor play.
Yes, that was a really wasted ball. That was Australia have been wanting the ball to go along the back line. The back line was all set. And really, there was nowhere to go.
Nexted won it well to Ashworth.
Nexted playing brilliantly off the back.
Offside there, Jock Hobbs. It's within kicking range for Mark Ella. So just so many infringements from both sides in this game. It hasn't really reached the heights of some of the epic clashes between these two sides, simply because we've seen so many mistakes from both teams. Jock Hobbs well offside there on the far side.
Yes, you couldn't help but see his shoulders zooming through on the far side. Interesting point. Mark Ella kicked a fabulous goal last week in his club game against Manly from almost this position, and it was almost this position that he kicked that magnificent goal in the second test.
8.5 minutes to go.
Now that was interesting. You wonder why Mark Ella has gone back. The referee blew his whistle and asked Andy Dalton to go back, and of course that must have disturbed Ella's concentration.
Will it spur him to greater heights? No worries at all. This is unbelievable. The Australian coach can't bear to watch.
Don't blame him.
1 point the difference. 25-24. This now is the highest scoring test match ever between Australia and New Zealand. 49 points. 30-16 was the previous highest at Eden Park, Auckland, 1978. Australia won that day. 1 point the difference. 8 minutes to go. Williams took it for Australia. Here it comes. Infringement by New Zealand. I think if I can lip read, he was saying number 5, which is Gary Wetton. Gould close to the touchline. It's another beautiful kick. What a kick by Roger Gould. 2 big Bertha boomers in this second half. Over the last 5 minutes has put Australia deep into attack. New Zealand by 25-24.
And the crowd absolutely roared. 7 minutes to go. 1 point the difference. Australia attacking, but it's New Zealand's throw-in.
The crowd approaching 50,000. Vital line out. Australia have it. Rodriguez there. Can Australia ruck it back? The ball was coming out Australia's side. They should have the scrum feed. Referee with his nose right in there like a little rabbit. Alan Wetton ready to come onto the field. Scrum feed Australia inside the New Zealand 22.
Now this is very important. Now someone is coming off, obviously, with Wetton limbering up. Obviously, now this is going to be very important because the doctor will come on. Now, really, the player will come from the field. We've been through this before. The doctor must inspect the player. Now, Australia should be racing up to get this scrum down. I believe the referee should be calling the scrum to go down if he abides by the rules. The doctor now will look at him. And that's the quickest decision I've ever seen.
Well, that's the way it should happen. It's worked against Australia. The referee just nodding with the doctor. Jeff Vanderfield.
Well, to me, I must say that really means we should get rid of it, that rule.
New Zealand heaving with all their remaining energies in this scrum. They'd love to spoil Australia's ball here. They really have to, because it's a great attacking position for the Australians.
Has been replaced by number 19, Alan Wetton.
Alan Wetton on. Cox. Ella's waiting for it. Ella to Hawker. Bad pass. Mark Ella there. Towed ahead by Dalton. But again, indecisive play from the Australian backs. The scrum was screwed round by New Zealand. Cox was in two minds. Perhaps that time he should have gone the short side.
Yes, it was the obvious way to go because he was in trouble. He really wanted to get it out to his backs, but he's going to get it to them this time.
Overlap here for Australia. Campisi. Goose step. Hawker was there. A foot into touch from Wayne Smith.
Well, Australia mounting some pressure. All Blacks swarming and defending well, covering the play well. It's Australia's throw-in. This is the one that Australia wants.
5 minutes to go in the test match. This to decide the fate of the Bledisloe Cup. The series locked at 1-1. Cutler goes high. They all miss it. Hawker lost it ahead. Or was it back? The referee says it was ahead. So Australia not able to ram home the advantage there. I'm sure New Zealand will now. The Bledisloe Cup. In 4 minutes' time, we'll know who is the holder. 44,000 people here today. Pulling down the scrum, Australia. New Zealand can take all the time they like. 25-24. Deans finds touch just inside halfway.
Well, Australia badly need possession now. They'll start counting it down.
Ella, field goal! It's gone wide. That was the chance.
Yes, it was worth the chance. 39 minutes and 23 seconds gone.
That would have won the Bledisloe Cup and the Test match. New Zealand taking all the time. There are 2 balls on the field.
And the clock is still going.
They're wasting time. 20 seconds to go. Australia's last chance. Cox to Ella. Another one. Off a New Zealander. Play on. Slack is there for Australia. Deans comes away, and that's the end of it, I'd say. There's the hooter. New Zealand retains the Bledisloe Cup. Bryce Rope, exuberant. The highest scoring game ever in test matches between New Zealand and Australia. 1 point the margin. The game that got away for the Australians, but then again, if New Zealand had lost, they could claim the same. The goal kicking in the end was the difference between the sides. Robbie Deans kicked 6 out of 7. Mark Ella kicked 6 out of 7. But Gould missed 2 and Campisi 1. I don't think anyone can argue New Zealand deserved to win that test match. They won by 25-24. But I think the area they really did Reign supreme was in the rucks. They really dominated in that area, and both of their tries came from good ruck ball, Trevor Allen.
Yes, it was. I think that looking at the New Zealand side, they deserved to win today, mainly because they were a little bit more professional than us. They made a lot of strange mistakes in for a test match, and so did we. But generally, their rucking and mauling was a little more controlled than ours. I've got to be honest and say that I thought our forwards played pretty well. But once again, we saw Mexted upsetting us in the lineouts.
And there was a lot of pressure on the Australian backline. They didn't really seem to respond as we know they can.
Well, I was bitterly disappointed in the Australian backline. I felt that the service from the halfback position was much slower than we've had for a long time. The centres didn't seem to be combining as well, but maybe it's because it was coming slowly. I just felt that they were terribly tentative and were a bit disappointing. Roger Gould was sound at times, and other times he disappointed. But as far as the backs were concerned, I just think that they ran second to the New Zealand backs.
There's one thing about New Zealand sides, which you've experienced as a player, they just won't give in. They just want victory so badly, and that edge today seemed to be their way.
It was, and they are, and I think it's something that we've got to develop. I think really we've got to develop a leader of the forwards that's in the tight, for there is a front row or a second row. See, Dalton does it very well, and we don't appear to have someone that's grinding us on into the rugged forward play, and we must get it.